Hey everybody, Daniel from Spacedock here with an unscripted news video. Apologies for the various background noises and clicking and things you'll hear, but we've just received our best look at all of the new Federation and Klingon ship designs for Star Trek Discovery, courtesy of the chaps over at Eaglemoss. I just want to go through them with you all one by one as we go through here and give you my thoughts on each. So of course here we have the USS Shenzhou Walker class, which we've all known about for a good while. This, to me, is one of the best designs they've produced so far. It's obviously very heavily inspired by the Akira and the NX, but it's a nice design. I like the colorization with the red. It looks good, and it's a good, solid escort design. I really like the kind of slanted deflector dish at the bow, and also the bridge is affixed to the ventral hull, which is a first for Star Trek, I believe, but certainly a very interesting idea. Next up, we have the ship of much controversy, the Crossfield class USS Discovery. I'm going to have to anger a lot of people by saying I actually really like this ship. There's a few things I don't like about it. I'm not a massive fan of the kind of small spherical bridge section at the middle. It kind of looks like whenever they zoom in on the bridge window, which I know is a whole other debate. Hardcore Trek fans don't like windows, even though they're everywhere else on the ship. But it looks kind of like a bunker or something, and it's a bit weird. And the ship's supposed to be a science ship. I think it might have been nice to keep that flat profile. But overall, I like the saucer cutouts. I like the overall frame. I like the long nacelles, even though this ship, we recently found out that it's like 700 meters long or something ridiculous like that. Honestly, if you're massively concerned about that kind of starship lineage continuity, I think it's time to surrender because they don't care. But I'm not as bothered by that as some people are. But I totally understand if you are. It is a bit weird, but you just got to put up with it really. Another issue I have is it kind of loses its silhouette a bit when it goes completely flat for the shuttle bay at the back. Maybe that could have been tapered a bit, but these are super minor concerns in a design that I really like overall. And another thing I'll point out, I like the sort of plasma vents on the sides of the secondary hull near the deflector dish. That's very cool, and I'm glad they made the changes they did between the original concept design and this to add the blue coloration on the Bussard collectors, etc. I think it looks very good. Another theory I'm going to throw out is that potentially the USS Crossfield, the original ship of this class, didn't look exactly like this, and I think it was the USS Glenn and then the USS Discovery were the versions of this that actually had the spore drive, and maybe they were refitted to have all the crazy spinning saucer gaps and the potentially, we'll probably never see it, but I'd like to think maybe this was originally just a science ship Starfleet developed, and then they co-opted the design to turn it into the spore drive idea. But either way, I'm more of a fan than this than most, but I guess it is a bit of a wild deviation from the norm, so if you're mildly irritated by the fact that this is an odd direction, then I get it, but it doesn't bother me too much. Next up, one of my favourites, this is the Kerala Shepherd class. This is a good, solid, standard Starfleet design. 2 nacelles, 1 saucer. They've not gone for the neck this time, it's the sort of Voyager style thing where it all just blurs together. Looks good, we had some good shots of it in the Battle of the Binary Stars. I'm not sure, I believe maybe we got the USS Gagarin later on, which I think was the same class, but painted in different colours or something. There seems to be some kind of weird thing going on with decals in Discovery. They repaint their ships a lot. But yeah, I like this design a lot. I like the fact that the Bussard collectors slope vertically backwards instead of the other way round, which is potentially what you'd expect. We don't have the best angles on it yet, so we can't see the shuttle bay at the back or anything. But overall, good solid design, I'm a fan. And here we have the MAGEE class. Don't like the class name, but I do like the fact that this is named after Shran, this particular ship. Nice little callback to Star Trek Enterprise. And this is a ship people are going to hate because it doesn't make any sense based on a lot of rules in the old canon books about nacelles and such. But I like it. It's a nice little design. It reminds me of Hondo Anoka's pirate saucers from Star Wars, the Clone Wars and stuff like that. I guess maybe if they wanted to try and sort of reconcile this with existing lore and we ever actually get to see the inside of one, it would be cool to see like big vast hallways inside the ship where all the energy from the nacelle is going down. Maybe there's like shielded bridges to get across different parts of the ships past them. Of course that's totally ridiculous design. You would just attach the nacelles somewhere else, but that's the rule of cool, and it looks pretty good, so I'm down for that. Looks good to me. This is definitely the best one, I think, of these. the CARDENAS class USS Jaeger, which is the ship that Ash Tyler was allegedly assigned to before he showed up mysteriously in a Klingon prison in the show. This has kind of elements of the Constellation class in here. It has elements of the Cheyenne class, and it has bits of, I can't remember its name, from Star Trek Online. It might have been Stargazer class, which was a similar thing to this. But I quite like the pocketed bit at the front of the saucer where they've gone to like a rounded bridge section. That looks really cool. And again, a common feature with these Starfleet ships for Discovery is that the nacelles all look really great. They're all really angular and sloped, and I like that a lot. And this looks at its best on this one, I think. Then we have the tragically short-lived USS Europa, which appeared only to be immediately cut in half. This is like a beefed-up Miranda Cheyenne hybrid. It looks pretty cool. Again, this is at the very top of the designs they've released here. I think I like it a lot. It's got massive decals for the registry number and name. I think maybe that was just because they wanted a nice shot of the whole thing getting ripped in half for like symbolism or whatever. But it's kind of a step out of normal, but that's okay. It's interesting how the arch between the two dorsal nacelles is like curved backwards from the bow. It kind of looks like something that you might make by mix and matching customization options in Star Trek Online. Does look pretty cool. Also, I think we may have seen the aft of this in the episode, but I'd have to get back to you on that. Because we saw it launching escape pods and such, which is nice. Overall, good solid design. Again, with the small escorts. I mean, I'm going to point out the obvious here. Absolutely none of this can be reconciled with what stuff is supposed to look like in TOS, and people who care about that are going to talk about it a lot. I don't really mind, but, you know, like, the fact that they have thrown the canon lineage in the bin from a visual standpoint, like, that should be made known. It is a clear visual reboot. So if you were expecting beige hull with no greeblies and like jelly baby buttons and big dials on the bridge and all that, I'm afraid you're going to be disappointed. But I think if you keep an open mind and a positive attitude, then you can appreciate some of these really nice designs. And I'm now going to have to contradict myself immediately as we go on to the HOOVER class, which I don't like at all. This is just a bit weird. I don't like how it seems like all of the propulsion materials and everything are all silhouetted by the top. I'm sure that makes a lot of sense from a tactical standpoint, so you can eclipse everything, but I just doesn't really do much for me aesthetically. This one seems like a kind of design by numbers, sort of rolled out ship, completely standard fare, not doing much for me. But it is better than what we're about to go into, which is the very, very weird Klingon ships. You see, they did a visual reboot for the style and modernization of all the Federation ships, and I think the result looks good, but I guess a lot of people are annoyed about that. But with the Klingon ships, they seem to have not only done a visual reboot, but totally abandoned all the stylization that the Klingons have ever had in their ships, which is kind of weird. But first we have this bird of prey that I don't really like. It looks like a Gould Death Glider, except less cool. It's kind of weird. You know, I hate to apply the word generic because it's so often callously thrown around to dismiss designs people have worked really hard on. But this evokes memories of the Ket from Mass Effect Andromeda and the Gorg from Nexus of the Jupiter incident and other sort of standard weird-looking greenish-brown alien spaceship designs. It's just not very innovative and, you know, it doesn't do much for me. This thing, what is it, the QUGH class destroyer? That's a bit weird. I guess it's red. It looks kind of, it seems to have sort of Chinese Oriental stylization to it with the big gold things. It looks like something you might see attached to some kind of lamella armor or something. It's interesting. More innovation than the last one, although still far and away from any actual Klingon aesthetic that came before or after this chronologically. And then we're on to this thing. I don't know what this is. The DASPU class. This is rubbish. This I don't want to throw it completely under the bus like this, but I don't know what this is. It looks like a toilet brush. It's just a sort of ball of greeblies in a cylinder. It's not really got anything eye-catching or interesting to it. I can't see a shuttle bay. I can't see nacelles. I can't see a deflector dish. I don't know where the weapons ports are. I guess maybe it's just a big gun. It reminds me kind of the Behemoth from Wing Commander 3, although that's kind of forgivable because that thing is like 10,000 kilometers long or whatever, 10,000 meters long, and is just a big gun. But I don't know what this thing is. It's kind of this probably my least favorite design on this list. But whatever, you can't win them all. And here we have definitely the best Klingon design, the only really great Klingon design here, I think, the VEOLARGH class, which sounds a bit like Feklar, the Klingon devil figure. I guess maybe this could be a different dialect's word for that figure. This is a very Klingon-looking ship. Props to them for actually having a ship here that looks like Vorcha or a QUGH variant or whatever. And we see Cole using this in the show, which is pretty cool. He has clearly decent enough taste to pick the least hideous of these Klingon ships. I hope we move sharply towards more like this in the future Klingon designs, because this is a big step in the right direction away from the aforementioned toilet brush. Okay, this thing, what's this? The BATLH class, is this Klingon as well? Yes, this it's kind of weird. It looks like a passenger liner or something. I'm not sure whether this is supposed to be a warship. I suppose the only place it could have shown up in the show is the Battle of the Binary Stars, so I suppose it is a warship, but it doesn't really look too intimidating. It's fine. It would be serviceable as some kind of background mining ship or transport or whatever. I guess maybe they rolled out some military transport ships for that battle, or maybe it is some kind of battle cruiser, in which case I don't really care for it. But you know, it's better than a lot of the other stuff here, and it does the job. Okay, that was super rapid fire news report. I don't like keeping these things on too long because I ramble and sound like an idiot, and also I've got the flu and sound ridiculous. But I hope to hear some of your opinions on these ships in the comments below. I expect there will be much peaceable discussion about the Klingon designs, which are much beloved by the Star Trek community. And I'll see you next time. This is Daniel from Spacedock, signing off.
Thank you for watching Spacedock. Please remember to like, subscribe and share for more science fiction spacecraft summaries. If you enjoy the channel, why not consider pledging your support on Patreon? For just $1 a month, you'll be able to access the Spacedock schedule to see what's coming up.